Greetings, citizens. Welcome to another BlastCast. Of course, I am Jarvis. With me as blah 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 Lightning Dragon.
What?
Alright, and while we get started here, I do want to kind of make an announcement. I was looking at doing a series called Citizen's Hangar, where I actually go through the ships that I've acquired during the course of my backing and explain exactly why I have them, the role, the reasons. But I'm delaying that a little bit due to all the massive ship stat changes. I just want to kind of let those settle in a little bit to where I kind of make that move before we do any ship comparisons again. I really think some of them are still out of line.
The short version is you will never do the
the
hangar because
soon TM
because the stats are always subject to change.
Well, yeah, I'm within reason though. I mean, some of those stats are just gotta be just way off. I just think I need some time to get that's all ironed out.
Just ignore the ship stats because they're bullcrap, and just remember what the ship was proposed as.
Exactly.
This is a cargo ship. It will haul cargo. It will haul more cargo than this cargo ship. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, basically. Alright, and around the web, Lightning Dragon and I have been kind of looking at things, and we've seen a lot of community concerns, not only in the forums, but also on some of the larger YouTube channels, where people are complaining about the Star Citizen development time or how they're doing things. And I think that's one of the interesting things about the perils of open development like this is most of the times when people see or get to play something or demo or whatever for the first time, even YouTubers, it's like within a year of being released, sometimes within months.
I think usually it's like on average it's 6 months. So, like, if they release, like, this GTA 7 drops a trailer right now, and they're like, "Whoa, GTA 7, you know, you'll be able to play it soon, TM."
What happened to 6?
You're looking about 6 months.
What happened to GTA 6?
Did I say 7?
Yes.
Oh, well, 6 was the MMO. That was GTA Online.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. But, like, they did the Red Dead Redemption 2 or whatever, and I mean, I don't remember when that trailer was, but if you go look at it, it's probably about 4, maybe 5 months now, maybe not even that much, and it's supposed to be released like January next year or something.
Yeah,
bet you that's right in the 6 months mark, and this is incredibly common with AAA games, or AAA games, air quotes, that basically the game is done when they announce it. So they make the game, and they fix the game, and well, they make the game, and they say, "Hey."
Well, then they spend the last few months doing final bug work, and then also getting all the CDs and stuff printed out, and then
the very normal games, all the bug testing is done at the end. So you make the game, and then you fix the game. Where with CIG, they're making a game, like a playable game, which is why it takes them so much longer to do things. Now, granted, you could say, and I would agree, that they are adding a little bit too much stuff, and a lot of people, us included, much of the community is just stop adding features and finish the game. Get a playable, stable thing, and, fix the bugs, and then think about adding new content.
Well, I think that's partially why when they talked about the upcoming 3.0 release, they moved some of the features back and said, you know what? Let's just go ahead, they talked about this around the verse. They said, let's just go ahead and move some of these things over here, and let's just get them out there, let's get them doing X, Y, and Z, and we'll worry about, the A, B, and C over here later, because right now the primary thing is we need to get this baseline out and let people kind of experience this new...
the wait has been going on long enough.
Yeah.
It's just trying to get a playable thing up.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's to me, it's always disheartening when I see some of the larger YouTubers, and some of you who watched our previous episodes kind of know what we're talking about, but we're not going to mention the name. Basically, they kind of went on a rant this morning a little bit. I was just like, oh, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. But it is what it is. That's the nature of it. I think their open development kind of leaves them to being shot in the foot for reasons that aren't deserved. And oddly enough, sometimes the things that really matter go underneath the rug. That's why we're here, though. Of course, around the verse this week was just a CitizenCon recap. So, yeah.
Whoopity-doo!
Yeah, I put those 2 episodes out last week, and I was like, oh yeah, everything will be fine. It'll be they'll have the silence will be off, and they'll have a normal round the verse. And I forgot about the traditional yearly, oh look, we moved stuff out of boxes into boxes and then onto a stage and then out of the boxes onto the stage. You know, I forgot about that traditional episode after every CitizenCon, so kind of sat here with my head in my hands. I was like, oh no, what do I do now for a show? But luckily, I realized as I turned around and looked at it that there was still one large elephant in the room we haven't discussed.
Which is something that the people that are watching this, if I'm assuming you guys are watching it, commented about.
Yes, we're stepping into the forbidden realm of interdiction.
Womp womp womp.
Now, we use Elite Dangerous often as an example because it's the most current, you know, that uses kind of an interdiction mechanic. And
unless you want to go old school with Eve, but
yeah,
we'll get to that later.
Yeah. Well, maybe not at all. I mean, I didn't do too much. I had an interdictor ship, but I never really used it. I never was the kind of person to attack somebody.
Well, okay, well, we'll just cover it right now and get it out of the way because there's not much to talk about. In Eve, you have warp disruption bubbles, and if someone warps into your bubble because it's on a straight line path, boom, you pull out a warp. End of story. We had this discussion on the phone, and from what we were talking about before, it's like it's the lazy way of interdicting. You don't have to do anything. There's almost no risk to the person who's doing the interdicting.
Yeah, and that's a big thing about it. It should be, you know, risk versus reward, and that's why when we were talking about it, we had at least an hour-long discussion about it, maybe more.
Oh, easily more.
Yeah, and then of course, if you add all the time we've had a discussion about interdiction mechanics, going back even further, it could be, you know, days worth of material. But so what we did is kind of looked at what Elite Dangerous does, and what we feel, and also some of the mechanics in Elite Dangerous won't work because, you know, in quantum travel, you can't change course. So that, and how it works in Elite is that you can, when you're in their travel system, you can actually fly around and change course. So that means people can actually turn around and then come after you and then interdict you while you're actually doing that. But in Star Citizen, that doesn't work that way. Two ships going in opposite directions are just like ships passing in the night. They're not going to affect one another.
Passing in the night, going at a fractions of the speed of light.
Exactly.
Because by the time, if you saw someone and you went, oh wow, in that, you know, 3/4 of a second, that was a, you know, a freelancer or whatever. So you shut down your quantum drive, and then you turn around. By the time you've shut down and turned around, you can never catch that guy again because you all have the same speed caps, or at least for quantum anyway. So yeah, so there's a whole mechanic on that has to be different. But one of the things we talked about is definitely frequency. The amount of times that this happens in the game needs to be kept to a minimal. Now, obviously, players can do it to other players or NPCs as much as they want. They can sit out there all the time. But I was thinking about that, and I was like, no, that there needs to be some counters to that too. So let's go ahead and get into that just a little bit. Now, first of all, the interdiction mechanic needs to be a skill-based mechanic. Also, before we go into this big, long discussion, this is just our idea and how we feel that it would be a good fit with Star Citizen and the direction that they're already trying to take the game, which is the skill-based mechanics, I guess.
Right. And a lot of the games that do this interdiction mechanic, most of the risk is on the person being interdicted. So we need to balance that out. All right. Now, obviously, I said you can't use it within quantum travel. So basically, you have to sit out there and you have to look at your sensors, long-range scanning, and you need to be in position to pull out your target. If you pull out a ship too far away, by the time you have to do a small quantum travel over to the location where you pulled them out, you may have given them enough time to slip you. So you can actually pull from a pretty solid distance, but once again, you know, you have to consider the fact that if it's too far away, well, you're not going to get anything done. Essentially speaking, you're just pissing somebody off. Now, interdicting mechanics, the interdiction device needs to be licensed with an identifiable signature. And the reason this is that police and bounty hunters would be issued licensed interdiction devices. This is to identify legitimate kind of uses of these devices by legitimate individuals. Obviously, bounty hunters would be probably working with some restrictions. They just can't sit there, I'm a bounty hunter now, I'm going to pull everybody out of quantum travel for fun.
Because the idea is when you turn on the interdiction thing, think of it like a ping of a submarine in the ocean.
It's loud.
Everyone knows where you are and what you're doing.
Which means at most you're gonna get like 1 or 2 possible interdiction attempts out of it before you got to move again and set up shop, because you are literally holding up a flare in a dark room and telling everybody here you are. And then that needs to be part of the risk. See, if you're sending out, say you're a pirate and you're in let's say lawful space, and you're going after a particular ship, and you fire that thing up because you know they're coming this way, and once you send out that first attempt, you're going to be sending out that ping to the entire area, this big, loud, obnoxious ping, and they're going to say, hey, anyone who can detect this will say, that's not a registered interdiction, and they can report that. So if the reports start coming in, the police will respond to the location and start looking for that individual. So think of it like a sniper. You get 1 or 2 shots and you got to move positions. Same kind of thing. So unlicensed users will get fines and fees. Now, if a signal is identified as being tied to other crimes, then that will compile. That will add on to. It's like if someone's ship got destroyed, like, oh yeah, before the ship got destroyed, it was pulled out by this particular signature interdiction device, and all the crew were killed, and you're using that device. Well, guess what? You just identified yourself as a murderer. So that is a mechanic that puts a little risk onto the person doing the interdiction. And the thing is, when police pull you out, they are going to first contact you. They're going to say, we want to do an inspection. Please stop your ship.
Also, I'd like to point out, from a different game, the police need a reason to check you. So, for example, if you fly to, let's just say a station, and the station has a legitimate market and a black market, and if you go in there with like no cargo or whatever, and then you don't use a legitimate store, and then you're leaving, and the station sensor detect you have a whole bunch of cargo, well, hang on, were they buying black market goods? And now in this other game, there's like non-illegal items you can buy at the black market, like maybe they're just cheaper or something. So that's going to send a flag, and boom, as soon as you warp out, that will be sent to some nearby police officer, probably an NPC that there's hundreds of, and then you'd get like a message like, you stop your ship and prepare for investigation or a scan or whatever, and if you don't, then they will chase you down. So what you can do is, like, if you go, oh crap, all I did was buy I don't know, paper towels. You bought paper towels off the black market because there wasn't any in the regular store for whatever stupid reason. So they pull you over and scan you and go, okay, well, there's no illegal goods here, move about your way. But like, you may get like a warning thing, so it's like they might be watching your ship more because it's like, hey, this guy bought something from the black market, but it wasn't illegal. Or maybe you have like an anti-scanning device, which I'm sure they've talked about, to like smuggle goods. So while they scan you and you have like the illegal goods in your smuggling compartment, they might not know you have those illegal goods, but they know that you probably bought something if it was over a certain like weight. And that would add a little bit to not just like random police inspection, pull over. The cops should have to have a reason to pull you over.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's an important part of that. Now, how the system would kind of work, just as an example, an overview, you would have an area of effect when you send out a disruption signal, and when you initiate the signal, the pulse extends out from your ship. You have to lead your target. And that means you're going to have to factor in your distance. And obviously they're traveling at 0.2. But there's actually a 2-step scaling now, as they said on around the verse. So you have the close, and you have basically it slowly ramps its way back up. So if they're not at maximum speed, you'll have to factor that in. But if they're at 0.2, you're going to have to know your distance. You're going to know how far you have to lead them. You send out the pulse. And things go from there. So it's not just a matter of I select target and then
press F to interdict.
Right, that's not how that's going to work.
Also, combining the interdiction mechanics with the sensors, and in retrospect, like long-range sensors, would add another, level of detail to it. So if you're an exploration ship, you've got just huge, cool, awesome sensors. They're way longer range than anything else. But you have extra cargo. You might be like, you know what? I'm thinking I want to outfit my exploration ship for interdiction ship, because you can like use some of that cargo hold to install the interdiction mechanics or parts, whatever. the engine, we'll just call it that. So you can use these long range sensors to scan down your targets, and that was another thing we talked about. I don't know if you've changed your mind on that, but when we were talking about it before, you were referencing a Star Wars mechanic, right?
Yeah, see, I used to play the West End Star Wars pen and paper RPG, and also the D20 system. How they displayed the X-wings or any of the ships scanning, which you had passive, which was a circle around you, but relatively close. Then you had active, which was like a 45-degree cone in the front, much longer. And then you had focus, which was like a 3 or 5-degree cone, which extended out of that, which was significantly longer than even that. And but the thing was is that each progressive move up gives you more data, but you know, like when you go active, you're not doing the passes. It's increasing your sig, you are extending your distance, but it's like you're lighting up brighter and brighter, so people can actually see you from further and further. The more energy you're putting out. So that's kind of how I envision the system working. And ships that are basically, for example, like Hornet Tracker, that kind of ship would be ideal to set up for these kind of as being a ship with a interdiction device.
Package.
Any sort of E-War ship would be fine. In fact, there's one that I actually kind of think about that should actually be an exception to the rule. It should be the Avenger. The Avenger is listed as an interdiction ship, so you should, while you have the one device you can put in the back, which is the EMP, they should also give you the option of loading an extremely large-scale interdiction device, because interdiction needs to be limited by weight, meaning that certain sizes can only pull out so many tons of ship or so many tons at the same time. So, like, you can't have a Hornet pulling an Idris out of jump, or a Hornet pulling a Constellation out of jump. It's one of those things that it should only extend within a certain amount of weight.
Like, normally, like, the same weight class as your ship, and then, like, 1 or 2 steps down from that. So, you know, you can't just go and, like, get to the biggest ship in the universe and just be like, I'm going to pull out everyone. I mean, there's going to be people that are going to slip through your net. And another thing about that is what I was saying on the phone, is if you have, like, a cone effect, and this would apply to the sensors and the interdiction, you're trying to get, like, as many ships inside the ID, like the middle. Right. And those ones have the highest chance to be pulled out. So if you were following a convoy with long-range sensors, first of all, they should know that they're being, pinged, basically, like the submarine thing. Like, you know that someone's looking at you, but you don't know if it's a pirate, you don't know if it's a cop. I mean, it's just like, oh, well, someone sees us. So that would be advanced warning to the people that might be getting interdicted. So now that you see the ships, you go, okay, well, we're using our focus scanners. It's Hull C, for example, and let's say it's got like 3 Hornets escorting it, but they're all in the front. What you could do is, as the interdiction ship, is try and wait for those Hornets to be out of the middle, and then grab that transport ship where you're most likely to have the escort ships just keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, you could do as well with this kind of system based on tonnage is that you can actually, for example, let's just say we have 3 cutlasses out there, and they're trying to interdict a relatively large target, and they say, like, hey, let's all try to interdict the same guy at the same time. And if they all hit, then all that tonnage is added up, and they're able to pull out a larger ship or more than one ship at the same time, because they're pooling their interdiction total weight together to kind of link it together to a lead ship. Like, okay, when I fire all this is going to fire. Call it interdiction linking or something like that, and basically just kind of do something like that allows you to step it up, I guess, a little bit on what you can do.
So it rewards people that are playing together.
Exactly. Now, the when I was talking about the Avenger, how it would be like you have the Warlock, and you come up with your own variant name for the Interdiction variant, but it would have, say, like the Tonnage capability of, say, like, I don't know, maybe like a freelancer equipped with a interdiction device or a cutlass itself, because it's built into the whole back, taking up the storage area. So you get several police together who used a ship like that. You could actually pull out a very large ship. So this also brings in a little bit more team play. So you're gonna have people out there who are going to be pirating together, and they're going to be working together to take down those large targets, not only on the attack, but on the setup of the attack. Now, ships that are going to be victims of this need to have counters, otherwise it just eventually it just gets to be too hard, too obnoxious to deal with.
Players are going to figure out the most optimal way to pull people out all the time, every time.
Right.
So if you don't give the interdictees some kind of defense mechanism, then it's going to be Elite Dangerous all over again, where it's like, you've been interdicted over and over.
So a couple things that, when they talked about this blade system, the blade system, you should be able to install certain items that make it harder to be interdicted. Devices that basically, for example, say like you have an engine and it's got 3 blades you can use. You say, you know what? I really don't want to be interdicted. I'm putting interdiction devices, I think 3 counter interdiction devices into all 3 blades, and we're going to try to bypass any problems like this. Because you're going through a risky area, you've got cargo, and right now, the biggest risk to you is what could happen between point A and point B. So you say, to hell with it. I don't even care. So you throw 3 on there. But let's say you're a larger ship, and a little bit larger than a freelancer. Let's just say, I don't know, let's just go with a caterpillar. And you say, okay, well, I want to be a little bit more less, a little bit less detectable. So you put some things under to lower your SIG, your quantum drive signature, so you're not detected as easy as they have to be much closer. But there's all sorts of different things you can do to try to basically make it harder to be a victim of being interdicted. As long as they give players options through this blade system that can counter interdiction, or make it at least much more difficult, so that the like, for example, if you had one that resists interdiction, the further away from the center of the cone of the optimal pulse, the less chance you're going to be pulled out. So you're making what the area of effect, or the area field of effectiveness for the person interdicting, tighter and tighter, to the point that it becomes, depending upon the size of your ship, nearly impossible to do it, requiring, once again, high-skilled gameplay. So people out there could be just, you could have someone out there who's just really good at interdiction. I mean, this guy, he's like the interdiction sniper. He can pull anyone out with any ship, doesn't matter what they're flying. That guy could have a career out there in the verse. Someone would say, you know what, hire Bob. That guy can pull out an M50 going from A to B with his eyes closed. So you want to get that guy to do it. And some people are going to suck at it, but it should be a skilled mechanic, because that's what the game's supposed to be about, high skill. Remember Chris Roberts said he wants to be difficult like Dark Souls. Okay, well, make sure that the guys working on both ends have that kind of difficulty.
Yeah, we don't want QTEs to have a interdiction thing.
X
press
triangle.
W F G. Oh, you've been interdicted. Oh wow, could you imagine if you were just flying along in your trade ship and a bunch of just QTE pop-ups came up and you're like, what the shit is going on here? Oh, yeah. Interdiction alert. Oh, press these, X, Y, B, and oh, hooray, you've successfully avoided interdiction. That's stupid. Quick times are stupid.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of quick times either. I mean, they're made, I think, initially. It reminds me of the original game Dragon's Lair. I mean, the whole game's a QTE, and it's really cinematic. It looks really good, but the gameplay is extremely limiting once you realize, that's what QTEs are like. the way that developers get around making something cinematic and avoiding complex mechanics while showing something really awesome at the screen at the same time.
A great example of them well done is probably God of War. At least the original.
Yeah, that's a good example. But a lot of times, the reason I don't like QTEs is that I spend more time looking at the button icon, trying to hit the right one, than I do looking at the event going on. The only one that really gets to enjoy the event is the person watching you play the game. Not a fan of them. Not a fan of them.
You just don't have the QTE skills that I do.
No, clearly I don't. Clearly I don't. All right, guys. Well, it's a lot of just kind of shotgun blast out there thoughts about interdiction. It's a mechanic that could cause a lot of aggravation for a lot of players, and also make or break pirating.
If you make it too easy, everyone's going to be a pirate. If you make it too hard, no one's going to be a pirate.
Right, and if you don't make it skillful, then you won't be able to define who's the best pirates, who's the worst pirates, or whatever, or have people who do different pirating tactics because they're better at X than Y. So I kind of want to see this kind of split up based upon individual skill, not based on a class system. I think people need to find what they're good at in the verse and do that. We'll leave your comments down below. If you have any questions about this or anything else, feel free to leave those as well. I'm really interested in knowing your thoughts on interdiction. It's been a real big bugaboo. It's been the elephant in the room for me in this game ever since they mentioned it, and especially during CitizenCon, we said, well, normally this 8-minute trip you'd be interdicted. So like, no.
Yeah, because that'll make it more interesting when you have a 20-minute travel time. Oh, yeah. Interdicted. Instead of being a 20-minute travel time, it's now an hour.
Exactly. So that stuff needs to be kept in check. All right, guys. Well, that's everything this week. We will catch you on the next BlastCast, or whatever video we do, actually.
Bye-bye.
Bye.